right. What's going on? All my Cash Physical Therapy headquarters group members. Everyone, I'm so excited to have this training with you here today. We're doing something that we have really been leaning into hard over the last couple weeks and months, if you've been inside of this program, where we want to highlight the real world people who are making a massive difference inside of their communities, who are doing the hard work that it takes to build a successful and high impact cash practice, not just in terms of the strategies and the tactics, but the internal work that is required to become the version of yourself capable of sustaining a high impact business. And so if you're brand new to this community, welcome. Every single week, we're bringing new trainings and resources to you to teach you what's working today inside of Cash Physical Therapy. And what we have going on today is something very special. Pulling out Jaime here, who's been working with us inside of one of the Clinical Marketers coaching programs since February of this year. And she has undergone massive transformations, not just within the growth of her business, but also just within her as a person. And so I wanted to bring her out here to share with you what it really takes to get a practice off the ground and how to overcome not just the tactical necessities of growing a business, but also how to develop yourself into a business leader. And the entire team at Clinical Marketers seen that come out of you, Jaime, and seeing how you've continued to grow going through this entire process. So thank you so much for taking the time to share your knowledge and your experience and your journey with us today.
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Excellent. So everyone, before we dive into this, one, make sure we thank Jaime, because instead of being with patients right now, instead of doing the 100 million things that she likely has to do on her plate today, she's here to share her knowledge with all of you. So make sure to thank her. If you're catching this live, comment live. If you're catching the replay, comment replay. It's the only thing we ask. We teach you every single thing we know without restriction in this community. Our only fee is that you engage and that you comment to tell the Facebook algorithm that this is something worth watching. So we'd appreciate it. So to dive into this stuff, Jaime, I always like to humanize people, because people always see like the results that people get and they always think, well, sure, that's possible for other people, but they have a hard time believing that it's possible for them. So I want to humanize you a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, when you started your practice? Let's start there.
Yeah, so I started getting into physical therapy because classic, like a lot of physical therapists, I was an athlete and I got hurt and I required some physical therapy. And I always liked exercise and teaching people how to exercise, I just got a lot of life from exercise. And it was kind of an escape for me in a lot of ways. And so when I was deciding in college what I wanted to do, physical therapy was definitely top of mind. And so after I got into grad school, a little bit backtrack. So I also played athletics in college. I was a basketball and volleyball player in college and high school. And so that was another reason why I needed a lab PT. So ortho was definitely the path I wanted to go. And I knew that when I got into grad school. Tried some peds, tried some sniff, tried some hospital. Didn't mind any of it, but really get life from working with athletes and people. And when I say athletes, I mean like recreational to professional. Like if I ever one day get to the point where I like get a contract with a professional team, I'll just like be happy for the rest of my life. But after grad school, that was in Chicago. I moved back to Goshen, where I'm from. And now I serve here as the local cash pay physical therapist. I live very close to Johnny, who's also part of the Booked and Mastermind program. And I actually turned him on to that because both of us worked for the same outpatient ortho group. And he's in Elkhart, which is about 30 minutes away. And then I'm in Goshen. And we both have some different specialties. He does a lot of mechanical low back pain. I do a lot of sports rehab. And so that just meshes really well because we have a really good connection still. And I appreciate having someone that I can bounce ideas off of that's going through similar things, even in the clinical marketer system that I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Johnny's an incredible human being. And yeah, it's nice to have someone who, is kind of going through no man's land and the struggle with you. It's a lonely game doing all this stuff. And
yeah. And if anybody needs some humanization, we work out of a what used to be a gym and then was a YMCA and then was a gym again and now is a like private soccer academy. And this is our dance space. And every patient that comes in is always like, redo the floors. And I'm like, I have no control. Like I have a Narnia cabinet in the background, like, and I don't really know what to do with it. And it's not mine. So if anybody needs some like down to earth, like this is my clinic space and this is what we're doing.
Yeah, the reality behind the scenes is never quite as cool as it looks on social media, is it?
Yep. A lot of people
Even
get
for
better
me,
in
it's
here,
like
but it's
my office looks clean from here, but like here is where all the clutters.
you want to share those videos with us?
Right? Goodness. So tell us a little bit about, before we go through like the journey of how you got to where you are today, give us an update on how things are going. You've obviously seen a lot of growth and success and you're going through it right now. Give us a picture of what that looks like.
Like where I'm at right now, or kind of how it's okay. So
yeah, where you're at right now, and then we'll go through how you got there.
Yeah, so right now, I have consistently the last 4 months been making 12 to 17K a month. And I just signed, well, by the end of the week, I will have signed a contract to provide the rehab needs for a local high school, about 5 to 8 hours a week. And I am about to start a bar, as in exercise bar, as Jordan and I had to clarify earlier. Bar and yoga and Pilates studio, which, as you saw, the space is pretty large. So it's going to be running out of this space because it's very multifunctional, which is really nice. And I'm still working on growth, still working on trying to like bring in more patients, because there's a lot of people that need my help from an athletic standpoint, but also just in general. We have some healthcare needs that need met. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. And I think, first of all, I mean, congratulations on all of the growth that you've experienced over the last couple of months. It's a really exciting place to be, but as you know, you're finding out, it's also just like madness. And on top of that madness, you're also building another business. Is this an enhancement to the existing practice, or is this a separate LLC?
No, this will be an enhancement. It's going to be fitness by Inside Track PT. So we'll have yoga by Inside Track, bar by Inside Track, but under the overarching kind of like fitness. I'm getting a new logo, hopefully done tomorrow. That'll be our new like fitness by Inside Track PT. But one of the things that's hard that all physical therapists know, but especially ortho, is when people are done with you, if they don't keep exercising, their problems come back. And so in our area, we have a pretty good strength and conditioning coach. I know I can send a lot of people to. I'm still building a network of personal trainers. We've got lots of running and biking groups and pickleball groups. So there's a lot of like independently started groups, but we don't have any fitness classes unless you want to drive 30 to 40 minutes north. And there's nothing southeast or west of us. Yeah. And a lot of patients that I have, especially you're like never exercised in their life, not really interested in exercise, but they're also tired of being in pain and not able to do things and play with their grandkids.
Right.
What an avenue of exercise that they can take that they don't have to try to do. They want a low bar to entry, and fitness classes are a really low bar to entry. So there's a community if you want to be in person. We're going to have Zoom sessions as well. So being able to video the session while we're doing the in-person session, so people can do it from their home as well. But honestly, I found that population that isn't super into exercise, if they can at least do like 2 or 3 yoga or bar sessions that's at their level and then walk every week, that just prevents so many problems. And so because we don't have that, I'm trying to create that here.
That is really, really exciting and really, really smart. One of the best things that we've ever done for Pro Kinetics was starting and you're about to learn about all of that in Mastermind, much more in depth at least, is the medical fitness training. That has not only created just incredible relationships with the people, because now we're seeing them, every month, not just when something's wrong, but when things are great. And it's created just such a great community. It's increased referrals, it's increased lifetime value. I think that's going to be a huge success for you. So you got to keep us posted on the development of that.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I've talked with quite a few people, a lot of people that I know, of course, and at least 20 have already said like, tell me when it started, because like
Yeah.
I want to join. So yeah.
That's so great. That's so great. So we talked about the exciting stuff. Let's
Mhm.
talk about a little bit of the reality of what it took to get you there. So
Yeah.
before you came and worked with us, what was your business like? Where were you at?
I had just finished the Paul Goff new patient accelerator introductory course. And it taught me a lot of basics, but it was not actually like actionable things that you can do. And the main reason I feel like for that is that they mainly want you to buy marketing services from them by the time you're done. So it's like, here's all this stuff. Isn't it so crazy? Let us just do it for you. And I'm not in a position where I can do that. And I don't really want to. I mean, maybe at some point I'll want to, but right now that's not where I'm at. And I don't feel like a ton of what I can do here in my community could be fed by what I was learning there. So, I did some of the basics. It got me organized and I learned a lot from it, but it wasn't actionable things that could actually bring in leads.
Mhm.
So I started reaching out to some other PTs in various groups, and I actually got a hold of Jen Wallace, got a hold of me. And I started talking with her a little bit. And she was talking about how, yeah, we have Facebook ads and I have 5 evals next week. And I was like, wow, like that's a very quick turnaround, and like asking like, you know, how did this start? Who did you talk to? Where did you find this group? What's kind of like price wise things?
Mhm.
And so ended up doing a call with AJ right after that and getting a little more information. And I'm a very practical, logical person, and I
Yeah.
like to prepare for the worst, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. And so what kind of got me in the door and started was the 30,000 money back guarantee, like 30,000, or we work with you until you reach it. And that was a good starting point for me because I just started in January. In February, when I started with you guys, I was making about 6K a month.
Mhm.
And a lot of that was word of mouth and doing some like workshops and talk with the doc kind of stuff. And after I started my Facebook ads, got those implemented, about half my revenue the next few months had come from Facebook ads. And so now like that's, I mean, some bringing it down to like reality, right? Part of the reason I need to like, I'm now in a spot where I need to hire someone because I have too much admin work for me to actually do all of it correctly and like in a timely manner. So that way growth doesn't stop. Cause right now we're hitting a little bit of a slow point in growth, but I've had a lot of word of mouth referrals and a couple doctors that have sent me some stuff recently that's been filling the gaps, but I need to get back on like spending time, making time to update the Facebook ads because I know that they work and I know that they bring people in, and I have someone set aside to like call at the right times. But because I'm running out of time to actually do that,
Yeah.
I need someone to help me offload. So I'm in the process of also
Mhm.
hiring.
Yeah. Do you know what direction you're going to go in? Are you going to go hiring a remote admin or a in-person admin or a PT first?
PT or PTA at this point. I have 2 that I'm in second interviews with this weekend.
Yeah.
One, yeah, the details of them are kind of spotty, but both of them are open to doing some admin work for me while I'm still building up their schedule to full time with patients. And one has business startup and business running experience. And so considering looking at possibly doing some like partial partnership with her to bring those good ideas in
Yeah.
as we're, like getting started, which would offload some more admin from me, but also jumpstart some admin because she'd bring in some things that I haven't even had time to do or thought of to do. If I go with, so right now I'm kind of looking at hiring someone that's a little bit of admin, a little bit of PT or PTA. I have an admin that is a college student studying to be a PT or an athletic trainer. He hasn't decided yet. And he does my Facebook calls because he does online classes. So he has time during the day at Monday through Friday, 8, 10, 4, and 6 to just call whenever someone comes across. So that's worked out actually really well.
Heck yeah. Yeah. It sounds like you got a really good network of people, and you must be doing something right if all of them want to work with you. I think one thing that everyone maybe undervalues is potentially partnering with someone at this when you're at the stage that you're at, when you have a really great PT who can bring those fresh ideas and help bear the load of building a practice. I don't think it's greed necessarily, but it's definitely something that not enough people consider, because there's so much value in just having like two of you. Like you can grow so much faster, and it's honestly more fun. Even the hard stuff becomes more fun because you get to riff about ideas and then you just get to do it. And
and one of the things I'm considering as I'm looking at this, because she's someone that like we got along really well on the first phone call, but you don't really know like about people until you get to know them. So one of the things, if I really do consider going with her to do some like partial partnership as the business is growing, is I'm considering doing like a weekend away where we just like go get an Airbnb together and like do a little something at a local like hour away place, and just kind of learn about each other and meet each other and know each other a little bit more, to make sure that like we can handle, because we're going to be together a lot if we do that. So spending some time doing some things like that, so we see kind of how we work together. She comes from a family that I know really well, and they're wonderful people. And they only speak highly of her. So everything looks good. You just have to make sure that it continues to do that before you get into a legal situation with someone. And as I'm looking to partner, it would be, I said, partial partnership. So I am looking at doing, if she were to accept the position, we were to move forward, she would be a lesser partner and I would be the greater partner. So that means that I get final say in my business. But it also would provide her a little bit higher earning potential, because she would probably get, what that would look like is once expenses are paid, her and I getting a percentage of the income coming in, which means it would incentivize her to work really hard to help me grow, but also it would fluctuate. So with the business, so I'm not set in a contract that pays her, $50 an hour because that's what she's worth. It's all right, let's work on growing these connection points. And then you could make even more than that as we move forward.
Nice. So. Are you open to a suggestion on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to be creative and learn a lot. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So I've done a lot of partnerships in my day, and the best advice I can possibly give you is make sure you don't just straight up give them any ownership in the business. Put them on a vesting schedule that's performance based. Even Ben, like he's one of my best friends, and when we started working together, it was a vesting schedule. And so after the first year, first equity vests, because we want to prove that we can stand each other for a year working together before we were married, essentially. And so I would put a vesting schedule in place, and then you can give yourself with that more agreeable financial distributions and terms around that, because if she obviously is really bought into this, that equity is enough to put in the effort to earn, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I basically base mine off of revenue, annual revenue. Once we hit this revenue milestone, your equity vests.
Okay. And what does that look like, equity vesting? So some watching this, including me, may need a little bit of description on that. So what would be a layman's term on equity investing?
Yeah. So basically, and so if you're going in and partnering with someone, you obviously have some sort of distribution of ownership over that company by a percentage. And so equity is basically how much of that, what percentage of that company you actually hold, essentially. And so a vesting schedule is basically a partnership agreement where, for the time being, here's what you're going to get. Once we cross this milestone, your equity goes from 2% to 10%. And then until we hit this milestone, once we hit this milestone, it'll go up to this. And so for like partnerships I've done in the past, it's like, here's the roadmap to become an equal partner with me, because I got this thing started. I built it to this. I took on the majority of the risk. In order for you to be my partner, here's the things that you need to do to earn that.
Yeah, it's almost like, you hear that a lot more with like partnerships in MD offices and partnerships in like lawyers or CPA offices. And that's a great idea. I have a lawyer that I need to consult with anyways, as I'm considering the partnership, and talk with her a little bit about it to make sure that those legal things keep me protected and they're done properly. Cause yeah, I'm not looking to get into a nasty situation where I get burned, because it takes a lot to build this.
Especially because you start to like, when you can meet some people who seem like incredible partners at first, but then, you know, a few months into the game, you realize that you're both idea people, and that's not good. You need someone who's just like the hardcore workhorse that's going to be the operator of the business, while the other's the visionary. If I didn't have Max, clinical marketer wouldn't exist. Like, I'm very much the like visionary idea. I can get things to 75%, and then someone else has to get it to 100. And so that's something to be looking for when you do that Airbnb trip, which is a really good idea. If you're looking for ideas, I'd love to chat with you and give you ideas on how to structure that day, because we do team days to do things like that too.
Yeah, that would be great. Because that's one of the things that I'm considering with her.
Yeah, but anyway, super exciting stuff. Lots of opportunity coming your way, obviously. So when you first started, I received a quote that Ty Saget sent over to me. Is it okay if I read it and then you tell us kind of where you were at in business, what was happening at the time? So this was back when you first joined us. I think this is about a month after you joined. So this was in March. It says, I have 17 patients next week, 4 new evals, 14 returning. I'm just blown away by how much this program has taught me so far, and I'm excited to build on it. I know you guys hear this a lot, but it's been fantastic to work with you all. You're so helpful, especially for me, who's just starting out and a total noob. So thank you so much. So at this time, this is when you're kind of just getting started. Tell us kind of where you're at when you first started seeing this momentum pick up.
The real intense momentum pickup happened probably like where it was starting to get out of my hands was last month, and March or April was when I started seeing a more consistent schedule of referrals coming in. So the hardest part that I would say I'm still working on, but in general with starting cash-based practice, is you want to have like a consistent like stream of referrals coming in. So right now I'm kind of in like a week or two slump where I haven't gotten as many, but a lot of that is school starting over this week and last week and the next week. And so I'm not expecting there to be a lot in general. But aside from that, making sure that like you have multiple resources, multiple ways that people can come in with referrals. And at the time when I joined Clinical Marketer, I didn't have that. I pretty much had word of mouth and then any workshops I went to or put on. Now I have Facebook ads, workshops, word of mouth. I have a doctor that refers to me. I've built up a network of people. Like I have a BNI network that I go to that sends me referrals. I have networks. Every time I network with someone new, like a masseuse or something like that, I would say what I'm learning about those referral sources is that I want to be really clear or meet multiple times with them. So that way they understand what I do and how I provide it. And so I'm actually working right now on trying to put together a little pamphlet or booklet of kind of what I do in a more succinct way to give to those referral sources. A lot of times, but that's what has kind of been helpful is like, it's diversified where I can get referrals from. And recently I went from book to mastermind just in the last like week or two, mainly because I'm looking at hiring. So I want a little bit of that information, but also I wanted, like the hardest part about starting a business is you're alone on this little island by yourself. And so making sure that you have a community around, like I'm a massive extrovert. So making sure I have a community around me that can help me figure out like, I'm having this problem. What should I do? I don't know how to make this better. What are you guys doing? I am running into this problem. How have you guys solved this in the past? That's what I want to build around me as I grow the business, but I don't have it right now. And I want to continue to have it with lots of people, not just in my area. So that's something that's been really helpful as I've been in those growth phases.
100%. I mean, having other people around, not just for like the mental sanity of like, I'm not a crazy person. These people are just like me. They're doing the same stuff. But all of a sudden, like every single problem isn't really a problem anymore. It's just a question, and you have an immediate source for the solution to it, which makes every single problem an opportunity. And it makes running into problems exciting because it's like, I get the next piece to the puzzle now. And so, I totally know what you mean. I mean, it took me a really long time to join masterminds, but after my first one, seeing how big of like a quantum leap I made as an individual because of that, like, I don't see an era of my life where I'm not going to be in masterminds. I think I'll always be in at least one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I would agree with that at this point, as I'm like looking, because even just like so for example, like I struggled with workshops forever, like going to festivals or going and doing workshops, because I don't want to, like, I want to be specific, but I also, if I'm going to be there one time, I want to like be as broad and specific as possible, so I can touch as many people as possible, and then also bring in the people that need my help. And so one of the ways I was like, Jen Wallace, we were talking a little bit because I just signed this contract with a local school to do some of their rehab. And she had some questions on that because she's looking at doing that with some schools in her area. And I had some questions on workshops and anything that she had done a little differently than just like showing up and being like, let me present, and then let's do some examples. And then that's it. Talk to me if you have questions. And she had mentioned talk with a doc, so one of the things I've been working on as I've grown the business is I no longer, so first of all, I'm a doctor of physical therapy. I have my doctorate. I no longer want to be like just a referral source from a doctor. I can diagnose, I can treat, I can evaluate, I can refer out. So I have been changing how I've been doing my business model and how I've been marketing myself from being a physical therapist to a doctor. Now, I also say I'm specialized in physical therapy. So like you get more time with me, orthopedics, my jam, rehab of sports athletes and injuries, that's my thing. But I've also been trying to find ways to be like, just ask me questions. Because a lot of people just have questions about like they don't want to make a whole appointment to go wait for an hour to talk for 5 minutes. So having a little bit more connection like that, where people can ask those questions, and people are really okay if you just tell them you don't know. Like there are some things that people come up with me and I'm like, that sounds like, I was like, this sounds like this specialty. So I would like see if you can get a hold of someone like that. But most things, I at least can point someone in a direction, which is like what they're looking for. So I'm trying to find more ways to do that, where I can advertise as a doctor who has knowledge of the healthcare system and can help point people where they need to go, because that builds rapport and confidence, rather than just being like, oh, you tore your ACL, come see me. Right.
And I think, especially with these referral partnerships, Jen's gonna be a really good person to talk to. I just helped her put together a really cool funnel for referrals that's tailored to each of her referral sources. So it's like co-branded, and it's something that I would almost look into before you print all those like brochures and flyers to hand out to people. It would almost be really, really cool to have this tailored piece of like almost like those referral cards that we taught you about, that's co-branded for them, and then they scan the QR code, and then it has like a funnel that explains everything that you want to say, but with unique offer just for their people, so they can hand those cards out and have like a tailored branded experience. It's really, really cool. It's all pretty much built already, so definitely I reach out to Jen in the mastermind and ask her about it.
Nice. Yeah, that would be great. I would need a little bit of both. We have a lot of tech illiterate people in our area. So a little bit of both would be good.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's wise. So we're running, we got, about 5 more minutes here. So out of everything that you've learned so far, obviously Facebook ads are a great help. I don't think anyone in this group would dispute that, with all of the different interviews and stories that we've shared in here. So outside of the Facebook ads, what's been the biggest lesson that you've taken out of the book partnership program?
That I'm a workaholic and I need to make sure I give time for myself. That stems from like a long history of like anxiety and like growing up in a household where like you can only succeed if you're working. And so oops, I keep kicking that. So a lot of what I have learned as I've been in the book community and now going to mastermind is that I constantly need reminded, hey, so have you booked out that admin time for yourself this week? Well, yeah, I have like 3 meetings during it. Okay, that's not the same thing. Or making sure that like like one of the things that a lot of the things that I've been doing lately have been geared towards like part of the reason I'm hiring is like I know that I'm going to get too busy. So instead of being like, no, I need to build up this amount of money for the business and make sure that I'm this prepared before I jump into that role. No, like I am going to be drowning already. So why would I wait to hire someone? Like someone is going to want this. Someone is going to want the career that I'm offering. May I have to wait a little bit for it? Yes. But like, I need to start that process and find those people because people will want this. People want to see people one-on-one. They want to see people for an hour. They want to actually see their patients get better. Patients actually want to be around people that care about them. So the idea that this is not going to continue to grow and not continue to be something that people are looking for and want is just silly. And I have very, very big goals for myself. So that's the other thing that I've worked on more with Clinical Marketer is what are some of the goals that I have. And I'm going to say this live on Facebook, but my biggest goal is I want to put ATI and Athletico out of business.
Yeah. I love you personally, like your business replaces them or what's the?
I don't care. It could be all me. I could have like a co-op. I could have like a version of an APTA that like I work on with people. I could just like build a empire. I don't care, but I am tired of them giving us a bad name and I'm tired of them treating us all like shit. And I don't like that patients don't get better there anymore. Or have ever really. And I'm probably going to get slandered, which is totally fine, but I don't like it.
You're not doing anything big if you're not getting slandered a little bit.
Yeah.
That's just a fact, but I absolutely love that. And I think that aligns really well with, our mission, for Clinical Marketer, which is to increase the number of people that actually utilize physical therapy services from the current like 3% to over 50%. There's a famous marketer, Claude Hopkins, who took the dental industry from 7% to 62% the span of 10 years just through marketing. And so that's our mission. And if we fulfill our mission through help, like you implementing all these different like marketing systems and getting the word out there, I think that grows the preventative work that could make ATI, a thing of the past. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, so to wrap things up, one, you've obviously gone through a huge journey and just growing the business, also finding the space and the realization that you need to take time for yourself, which is a really, really hard thing to do because everyone does think that the more successful you are, the busier you have to be, which isn't true. So I guess for those individuals who are stuck where you were in their practice, where they're not really sure if, they've gone through some programs, they've implemented some stuff, nothing was really moving the needle, and they're finding it hard to stop the grind. What's the advice you would give to, I guess, yourself, a few months back?
Well, a few months back, like when I signed with you guys, it was pretty much like, yep, this looks good, so I'm just going to do it. I would say anytime you're going to jump into something that you aren't sure about yet, make sure that you have the worst case scenario in mind and what could happen, and then ask questions about that. And if nobody can give you very good answers or say like, yeah, we're going to be with you there, we've got X, Y, and Z like reviews to say that, we even have a money back guarantee to support that. Like the goal of any place that you work with is that like, no matter what, whether you're making a networking connection or you're working with Clinical Marketer or you're trying to find a new PT, the biggest thing you need to think about is what's like, for me, like my anxious self, what's the worst case scenario? How am I gonna, like, what questions do I want to ask to see if the person can handle that? And then what is the best case scenario? And what would that look like? And then strive for that, but prepare for this.
Right. Yeah. And always preparing for the absolute worst case scenario, because everyone does kind of, everything's shiny. Everything looks like it's going to be good for you. But a lot of people don't know the hard questions to ask. Do you have any recommendations on like, here's like the red flags that you would be looking for when looking for help?
Yeah. So a lot of the things that I like talk to about, like a lot of times I give people scenarios.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so if I was like making 4K a month, like, and I had dropped off really terribly and I was like kind of freaking out and I'm trying to like build up all this stuff to prevent that. Like, what do you guys do about that? Or like a good example would be Mastermind. So I just joined Mastermind and I asked AJ, I was like, so if I don't, like, let's say I have a bad month and it's not going well and I need to pause, like, am I allowed to do that? Yes, because in the contract, there's nowhere where it says that, like, no, you can't. But that's obviously not the goal, because then I don't get the benefit of Mastermind. Like I don't get the growth from that. So of course I don't want to do that. That's not going to be the goal. That's not going to be the point. But to know like some of those worst case scenarios, like I know that what I'm investing in is going to be a good thing. It's going to help me, but also I need to protect the business. And the other thing about when it comes to like money stuff, when it's like when you're paying for something big, is like when I say consider the worst case scenario is that this business goes under and like doesn't succeed. And ultimately, no one died. My family's fine. I still have a roof over my head. And now I have like a whole year of starting a business experience and I'm still a doctor. So it's not like I'm never going to find something that I find interesting. It's not that there's not going to be another job out there I can't do. This one didn't work out. And I've had too much happen in my life that causes me way too much stress to worry about that.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of over like what if it doesn't work? You know what? If it doesn't work, I'm going to be really sad for a while and then it's going to be fine.
That's such a good perspective to have. And it's really hard to get to that point. It's really, really hard to get to that point where you're just kind of like, worst case scenario is there's still a big silver lining in that. You still learned a ton and you're still a doctor. Like you're going to figure it out. There's definitely people that have it that aren't in as good of situations. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and a lot of that has stemmed from a long history of family members and friends having passed away. And ultimately, like really worrying about a business to that level is just dumb. So it no longer, like I stress about it, don't get me wrong, but I'm no longer like having panic attacks over it anymore.
Wow. You and I are a lot more similar than I had already known. Like definitely come from, like my dad's going to die at his desk. That man is never going to stop working. I didn't even know the guy until I was like 12 because he was just working weird hours and I just never saw the guy. And then, also the close deaths around me have definitely created my like laser focus on like work, and taking that time for myself is something that I literally have to like force myself into. Totally resonate and feel that. So Jaime, I want to be respectful of your time. I know we hit the 45-minute mark here. So first of all, I want to say thank you so much for of course, being here again, but B, just being open to being vulnerable and kind of sharing like the real truth of what building a business actually is, where, yes, it's exciting, but that's like, percentage of the time. A lot of the times it's just stressful and it's just chopping wood. It's doing the boring stuff. And just getting through it. And so thanks for being vulnerable with us and sharing all of that. And everyone who here's watching, make sure to thank Jaime for taking the time for being here. Any last words for everyone who's watching?
So I also like having gone through all of that stuff through childhood and life. The other thing is that I got a lot of like hard work instilled in me. And one of the things my dad used to say is if you're going to do something, do it right. So that's one of the things that I kind of like enjoy living by. And then I'm a big quote person. So the other one is I'm a massive Brene Brown fan. And one of the things she says that I'm actually going to probably get a tattoo of here really soon is strong back, soft front, wild heart.
I love that. That's really good. That's a great tattoo too.
Yeah.
That's perfect. I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. Everyone, if you have questions for Jaime or on any of the topics that we discussed here today, or if you're just going through some of the same stuff and you're in that kind of like tough place where you feel like there's no support that's out there, feel free to drop a note. I know I'm available to help talk about any of those things because I've been there. I know Jamie's been there and she'd probably be willing to chime in too. But any questions you have, anything you need, throw them in the comments. We'd be happy to hang around and answer some questions throughout the day and throughout the week. So thank you all for being here. Jamie, again, thank you. Have a wonderful day, everyone. We'll catch you next time.